Hi, welcome to ohyay. My name is Lauren. I'm on Team ohyay, and I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes or so walking you through the very basics of ohyay Studio, which is how we refer to the back end of our platform. Let's start with the essentials, these 5 icons up here. Turning off your camera is as simple as hitting the camera icon. Turning off your microphone, the same. This icon here is to share your screen. This leave icon is to leave a workspace, which is what we call what we're in right now, a collection of rooms. And the settings wheel here will show you the basics of your settings, changing your camera, your microphone, your speakers. You can also hit profile and other settings, and you'll see some more options here. You can add a subtitle. You can change your avatar. That's what shows up whenever you turn your camera off. You can edit any contact information, and you can also change the skin tone of your emojis that you use in the reaction bar, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Next, let's get you acquainted with what we're looking at. There's a lot going on here. The left side over here, this is where our list of rooms appears. This is where you can edit rooms, rearrange rooms, create rooms, which we'll talk about in a little bit. In the middle, we have our canvas. This is where you're going to be adding any and all elements that you want. This is where you pick a background image. You can add elements for participants. You can add chat elements, timers, video elements, text elements, all sorts of stuff. Down here, you have our reactions bar. This is completely configurable and customizable to your liking. You're able to send chat reactions that disappear after just a few seconds. And you can also use these emojis down here. Again, all can be customized. At the bottom here is our notes and controls. This section is most important for event directors. You'll put things here that you do not want your guests to see. Guests can only see things that are here on the canvas that you place here. Anything down here, notes for yourself, maybe buttons, those will not be visible to anybody unless they have editor access to your space. And finally, over here on the right-hand side, we have these settings. This bar changes based on what you click on within ohyay, right? So if you'd like to edit the room and you click somewhere on the room canvas, right, suddenly we're editing the room. If I wanted to edit my participant bubble and I clicked on myself, this bar will then change to be editing my bubble. Finally, this top bar up here, we have our menu bar up here on the left, and up here we have our shortcuts to some of those more popular elements that I mentioned earlier. Text, participant elements, we've got a chat, a video, an image. Over here we've got our buttons. Again, we'll get into that whenever we start building our room. The most important place to start whenever you begin building your workspace in ohyay is your workspace settings. To access the workspace settings, what you're going to do is you're going to click on this icon right up here in the top right corner. This is where you can name your workspace, right? That's the name that people will see on the page whenever they initially join your space. And you can also edit things that affect the entire workspace, right? Who has admin access to your space? What's the capacity limit on your space? Does your space have a custom vanity URL for your guests to be able to access? All of those things and more can be configured in the workspace settings. As I mentioned earlier, a workspace in ohyay is simply a collection of rooms. How many rooms you have, what's inside of them, who can access them, that's all up to you. So to start, let's build a room. We're going to hit Room, New Room. You'll see that you can also use this little shortcut plus button right here, but for now we'll take the long route. You'll see that what I just did was add in a participant element to add myself on screen. This is important because a good rule of thumb in ohyay is if you cannot see yourself on the screen, you likely cannot be heard, right? In order to see yourself on screen, in order for your participants, your guests to see themselves on screen, you'll need to make sure that there are participant windows that are able to receive their videos, right? But let's back up a little bit. Today I've decided that I would like to build a poolside room because personally I wish that I were by a pool, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name my room. I can either use this little shortcut right here by clicking on this, or I can go to the settings, right? Because we've learned that the settings is where you edit things. And now that I'm clicking on my room, right, I know that this is going to refer to my room. I'm going to name this room poolside. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to pick a background image for my room. I happen to have downloaded one from istock.com. So what I'm going to do is one of the first things here in the room settings is background, right? If I wanted to just select a color for my room's background, I could easily do that, right? But I don't, right? Because as I mentioned, I want to be by a pool right now. So I'm going to hit this little image right here. If you hover over it, it says background media. I'm going to upload a file from my computer. And here it is. Okay, so now I've got my background image set. The next thing that I want to do is decide how many people can come into this poolside room, right? Well, there's plenty of room for seating, but for the sake of today's exercise, I'm going to say that I only want 3 people to be allowed in this room, right? So what that means is that I'm going to go to my room settings, right? And I'm going to set this max participants number to 3. That means that only 3 users can be in this room at one time, right? But if I want 3 people to be able to be in this room, I'd better have 3 participant elements so that when my 2 friends join me, their videos can appear on screen as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is move myself, right? I'm going to put myself in this chair right here, okay? And then I'm going to add in 2 more participant elements. So we've got 1, we've got 2. Now, as you can see, it's kind of hard for me to see where I want my friends to be on this couch because there's nobody in those spots, right? So at ohyay, we give you the ability to put in what we call fake participants, otherwise known as bots, so that you can see while you're editing what these spots are going to look like. So I'm going to go back to the room settings and I'm going to up my fake participants to 2. And now I have 2 fake friends in here, right? Now I can see a little bit better where I want them to be positioned. The next thing I want to do to welcome my friends into this room is to make a welcome message, right? So I'm going to use a text element for this. Here's my text element, and I'm going to say, welcome to the pool. Okay, so from here, I can completely customize what this text looks like. Obviously, white isn't showing up too well here, so I'm going to pick a different color, maybe a nice blue color. There we go. I can also bump up the font size, and I can change what the font is. Right? Tons of customizations here. You'll find that as you start exploring ohyay Studio, almost everything, every single element that you add into this canvas can be customized. The next thing I want to do is set some background music, right? So I'm going to go back to the room settings. Okay, so I'm going to click here, or again, I can just click on the canvas, either one. And I'm going to scroll down. ohyay gives you the ability to drop in a YouTube link if you'd like to pull music from YouTube. You can just copy and paste that link right into this text box. You can also upload an MP3 or any other sound that you may have downloaded by hitting this little edit button here. Right? Similar to whenever we uploaded our background image, this will just allow you to upload any MP3 asset. And then we also have a pre-selected list of room moods, right? So if you check out here, the last line item on the music category, we have a bunch of different sounds that you can choose from, right? Since we're at a pool, I think I'm going to choose relaxing. Okay. In order to play that music, you'll see that this has just appeared right by my room name, and I would just hit play here. Finally, I want to customize my reactions, right? So we're in the room settings, as you can see. I'm going to scroll down to reactions. Tons of different customizations here, right? But one of the most popular configurations is to choose your own emojis, right? So let's say I don't want any of these emojis in here. I'm going to delete them. And I want to pick my own, right? So let's see. I want to pick a blue heart, right, to match my background. And maybe I'll pick a palm tree. It also shows you 2 last custom emojis that you used recently. So it keeps those sort of in your bank. For whatever reason, a shark and a yoga pose were the last ones that I used. But you'll see that now these are the default emojis in my space that my guests can use. And with those simple steps, you've now built a room using ohyay Studio. The ohyay community has tons and tons of creators who are constantly creating awesome spaces. If you'd like to see what other creators are making and even import some of their spaces into your workspace, you can go to Room and Import Room. And here you'll see the ohyay gallery full of tons of rooms that are all categorized by different themes: education, parties, fun and games, social and happy hours, and even workplace. So feel free to check that out. Thanks so much for joining today. We hope you have fun on ohyay, and we can't wait to see what you create.